It's a high-tech conversation
and a low-tech topic.
live on the World Wide Web via Zoom. Bench Talk 101.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Bench Talk 101. We bring back our topic talks with Craftsmen on Canvas Part 3. So this week we'll start our talk talking about The Carpenter by Frans Mortlemans, which was painted, I believe, in 1887. And over to, screen sharing. And I invite any of you to discuss.
I'm pretty bloody impressed with the fact that you pronounced the name wrong. I'm sure it's right, isn't it, Matthias?
It's pretty close. Frans Mortlemans, if you want to put a Dutch accent on it or a Flemish accent on it.
Yeah, but you don't count because you know how to do it.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently, he was the younger brother of the more well-known Lodewijk Mortlemans, who was a composer, and that's about all I know about the Mortlemans brothers. But are we sure that this is actually a carpenter? Because
no, it's a metal worker.
Blacksmith's shop.
It is because he's got
incorrectly labelled, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
that's a leather apron.
Yeah, the painting was sold at Christie's, I found 15 years ago for a fair bit of money, and they labeled it The Carpenter. I haven't been able to find any Flemish reference to this particular painting because apparently Mortlemans, his favorite subject was flower still lifes. And he was very good at it, but it's not quite my thing. So anyway, so that's... all the Belgian sites that talk about Mortlemans have pages and pages and pages of vases with flowers in them. And if that's your thing, that's fine. But anyway, so
it's a blacksmith's vice straight away.
It is. Of course, a carpenter could have a blacksmithing corner, and the stump underneath the bench there looks like it might be used for blacksmithing work rather than carpentry.
Yeah. And I think that's a metal anvil plate as well. It's not a circular saw blade.
Yes. But
Is it possible?
There is a bow saw on the wall, though.
Yeah, but you can put a metal blade in one of those. You're still going to need a saw, aren't you?
Yeah.
Is it possible that it looks like it's? Is it possible it looks like he's actually using a file rather than a saw or a chisel?
He is.
Yes,
it's definitely a file. His front hand is the right stance for a file.
Yep, I would say so.
I agree with all.
Does it look like his bench is covered with an oilcloth? Is that what I'm seeing there too? With the tools on it?
Well, he's got a leather apron. He's got a leather apron. You wouldn't need a leather apron for.
The part that I don't understand is that pipe floating away on a curve above, in front of the window, and where it goes, and whether or not that's a shadow on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
What's the date? What's the date?
Clasp the window, but
this is 1860 something. 18.
That looks like a gas pipe.
Gas pipe.
1859.
Well, no, it can't be. Mortlemans was born in 1865. According to the internet, according to Christie's, the painting is from 1887.
So it's gas.
Could be 87. It could be 85. Could be 89.
If you blow up the corner, the date under the signature, it doesn't look like the 80s.
No, but it can't be much earlier because, I mean, he was, as I said, he was born in 1865. So if it's 1887, he would have been 20 years. I think it does say 87, actually.
85, it says 1880. Oh, 87, yeah.
Yeah, it does.
Oh, yeah.
So it was 22.
Going back to the first question, I can't share it because I'm on the phone, not the PC, but there's another painting by him of the same person hammering some red hot metal on an anvil.
Oh, right.
And it's the same guy with the same beard and the same hat and the same leather apron.
Mm-hmm.
So, it really is not a carpenter. It's definitely a blacksmith.
I wonder if he always works with his eyes closed.
He's looking down.
Down, yes.
Yeah.
He's just about to punch a statue of Christ or Betty Page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's Betty Page.
Well, he definitely got a bow saw.
Isn't that a Jesus figure?
Yeah,
there?
it
What
is. It is. Yeah.
Like it.
But he
Or is that a
would
pair
have
of
that
pliers?
as he would have that in his workshop if he was Catholic.
Are these? Can you see my mouse?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah. Are these augers here in the back? Long augers.
No, I don't think so.
No.
Looks like
think
metal
that's bent
scroll work
metal.
of some kind.
Yeah.
Could
That
be
looks
one of
like-
Chester's fancy spirit levels. Only joking. Not really.
Just trying to see if there's anything else interesting. These look like
Files.
Like
Files.
files.
yeah.
Files
We'll
and
go up to the left.
Up to the
Yeah.
left.
To the left, right there. That
Calipers.
calipers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These calipers here.
Are they calipers or are they trammels?
They're calipers,
go-
I think.
I think they're calipers.
They're
Can you
they're
blow
just
them up?
stuffed. They're just stuffed in a disarray, aren't they?
Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah,
one's
that-
upside down?
Some ironwork, that is.
It's a top. It could very well be the top of a gate or something.
I wonder if that
Yeah, a
pipe
bit
that Chester was talking about is an adjustable lamp on the gas pipe.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's a gas pipe. That I would have said.
Can anyone else remember, if you go up a bit behind the guy's head and look on the wall, there's an old shoe nailed to the wall as a holder. And
Yeah.
I think it's one of Ken Hawley's videos, maybe a file maker, shows him using that to hold a tool that was needed frequently at hand. And it's such a sort of obvious economical idea. Don't throw away an old shoe if you can find a use for it.
Beautiful lighting.
Oh yeah.
That vice is exactly the same as the one I put into the smithy this week.
Mm-hmm.
You just don't realise how close that picture is to the one in Market Bosworth that's just been cleared out. I've got a couple of pictures. Just not that angle. I thought I'd got that angle. Just the same as that, with that Georgian light.
And Jim, are you saying that that disc in the bottom left corner is an anvil?
Well, it's one of those sort of shaping plates that you plenish things across. I think. I'm pretty sure. I mean, I've got one very similar. It's kind of like a flat, you know.
Like a metal spinning lathe would work, or?
Yeah, I don't think there's any evidence that he ever uses any machine tools in that shop. I think it's very much like. I mean, you know, you can't really tell, can you? You could swing it around, and there's a Myford ML7 in the background, but
probably just a bit of a swordsmith.
It does have the words frisbee on that disc.
It does. It does. And South California.
If it is more blacksmithing than carpentry, why is there no hammers? You would think a blacksmith would have a round and a flat hammer.
Well, it's in the afternoon, so you know if you had a hammer, it would be in the morning, wouldn't it?
Oh dear.
But my biggest question is the dummy that's been sold. I mean, you know, we were. Are we supposed to be discussing masterpieces of carpentry?
It's called the Carpenter.
It is
right.
It's labelled the Carpenter, but it's not.
It's got Wrigley's on the side of a London bus, but they don't sell them.
Now, there's a hammer in this other painting that I'll try and.
Well, I think our next painting, if I don't know if there's any more to discuss on this one.
Is the next one going to be an album cover of the Carpenters?
Yeah, yeah. Well, I'm going to move over to. So this is a painting by, I believe, Jean-Baptiste Anton.
It's by Jean-Baptiste Reiter, Austrian painter. I think some of the blokes in Unplugged Woodworkers had seen before because I shared a few photographs when I last saw it in person because it's exhibited quite often. The quality of the picture itself is not outstanding because it was painted in the early 20s of the painter. But the interesting backstory is Jean-Baptiste Reiter was the son of a joiner and also trained to be a joiner and dropped out when he was a journeyman after 3 years of training, because he then was discovered to be a rather good sign painter in the surroundings of the shop of his fathers, and a Viennese painter was helping him along, and he became quite a famous Biedermeier painter in Austria in his later years. So he was born in 1813, I believe, and died somewhere in the 1890s. And he was on his peak as a genre painter and portrait painter, so around his 1860s, 1870s. So this is a rather early painting. But I think it's pretty interesting because he knew what he was painting, and there's quite a lot going on there. So
yeah, I like the two men sawing the veneers and just over his shoulder there.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who just spotted that.
Yeah.
Yeah, look in the background behind them is another man smoothing the top of a board.
Exactly.
There you go.
I think my favourite part is, and Anton, I think we had a debate about this, that the woman in the foreground, in front of the table being French polished. Whether she's mixing some shellac or
pigment. No, I think it's pigment.
I think it's pigment.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's pigment.
For what?
For staining wood.
Oh, for stain.
Staining or painting. Painting wood was rather popular in Austria.
Yeah, it could be for graining, fake graining.
Because if you look to the left, the lady in the back is obviously painting a chest.
The lady over on the left here.
She's painting a chest. So
the bottles at the bottom. The bottles at the bottom are great too.
Yeah, I think it's alcohol and just mixtures for let's say shellac or whatever, because the older lady, which I think is the wife of the master carpenter, is French polishing this table.
Yeah.
There's a rubber there, isn't there?
And then up here you've got these pots here, which I presume might be glue pots.
Glue pots, yeah.
But you can this one with a long handle.
It's fascinating how she's shown the fact that she's French polishing by getting that semi-reflection of her arm in the.
Yeah.
Mm.
He was quite talented in his young years, but if you look at the perspectives, there's still quite some mistakes, and he became to be a really good painter, famous for his lifelike children portraits. Actually,
it's interesting that the lady with the red apron is the only one actually looking as if it was like kind of like a camera.
Yeah.
So everybody's doing what they're doing round about, and nobody's paying attention to the fact that it's obviously not a camera, it's a painting, but she's looking back as if somebody was actually taking a photograph. It's interesting.
Interesting thing is no one is taking notice of the clients coming in.
I did notice those. I was waiting for a point to mention them.
I think one of the
lady client means no one in the painting is noticing them, as opposed to us.
It's interesting that the dog hasn't noticed them.
Yeah, absolutely. And the lady is obviously saying, "Come on, let's go somewhere else. They can't be bothered." So it's clear what she's saying to the other client.
It's also interesting that the vices have differing handles. The two vices on the bench have different handles. One is a knob type.
Never noticed this before.
Yeah.
And
it looks to be painted green.
Does anyone see the scrub plane?
This is not a scrub plane.
I don't think that's a scrub plane.
It's a typical Austrian smoothing plane of the time.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's the reason the master, that's the finishing plane, the master keeps it. So if you look on the wall above it, there are more regular planes, but this is a typical smoothing plane of the time.
Now, is that a hatchet that's underneath the bench, sitting on the bench stretcher in front of the red-headed kid's hand below?
Where?
Below the bench on the stretcher.
Just here.
Under the vise, you have to go further down. Further down. There. There you go.
Looks like,
Lower.
And the apprentice, Peter.
See right there?
Yeah. And then here, what's the apprentice holding in his hand?
Oh,
No, he's marking out. This is a typical marking
gauge.
He has in his right hand, and this is just a piece of wood he's marking out.
Can anyone see the shape on the shoulder vise?
Yeah.
Typical.
It seems.
Even mine is a little bit battered, but that's a typical shape for Austrian shoulder vices. No, not shoulder vices. Tail vices.
Okay.
Judging by the apprentice's face, he's about to get a thwack because I think he's done something wrong looking at the back.
Yes.
And there's a plane here without a handle. Could that be the shooting plane?
Which one?
This plane at the back, just behind his hand.
The long one?
Yeah.
Just looks like a jointer.
Yeah. It's got no handle, so.
Yeah. They came in all sorts of. Some had little crossbars. Some had one stick sticking up. and Austrian planes are a late development.
You know what's interesting? There's no finished anything.
The table that's being French polished.
Oh well, okay, yeah.
Close enough, yeah.
Well,
The clients come to pick up. That's why everybody's all hands on deck.
Technically, if it's being French polished, it's still being finished.
Well,
yeah, you have to look busy for clients.
It's using a bit of license, isn't it? Because in the shop where I did my training, you wouldn't have anybody French polishing in it where woodworking was going on.
Not with shaving on.
It's the dust. And the dust on people's clothes and their hair and
sawdust.
Yeah, well, speaking personally, yes.
It does look an incredibly clean workshop.
But he goes back a long way into the dark there. There's a young lad, or looks like a young lad.
Oh, I haven't spotted him. That's got to be Tate.
It looks like Tate. It does look
like is Tate, that is.
Mm-hmm.
The quiet man. The quiet man.
What's he doing? There's another bench. Look, he's got a vise below him.
Yeah, he's got a vise and he's smoothing a board.
Yeah. I think he's scraping, but it's hard to tell.
Hopefully the scraping will smooth it as well.
Yeah, hopefully.
Last on the left, looking.
There's a lot of great stuff on that little bookcase, that little case behind the.
Yeah. The lady on the left is not happy about painting. You can tell that she wants to do something else.
And are those cramps on the top shelf there in the middle?
There's an economic lesson here as well, isn't there? That presumably the two children in the foreground are the carpenter's children, and if we're saying the lady with the green bonnet is his wife,
I would think so.
The old story that you've got to, you're one wage earner, but you've got to have the whole family working alongside you, to get by.
Looks
that
like
was
she's
very
knitting,
common
not making a.
in England in the late 19th century, that the children would be pressed into use at home.
We were thinking a lot about the girl, what she is knitting, and one suggestion which I quite like is that she might be knitting, the cover for bales for French polishing.
Yeah, I like that.
But she's got ballet shoes on as well.
It could be the original Lee Nielsen plain sock.
Smelly too, yeah.
I wonder what the child is, what the boy is drawing, or
I think he's practicing geometry and practicing angles.
Yeah, maybe.
Got a compass in his hand. He might be dividing up circles into different segments.
You can't be stepping out. You need shoes for that. Thank you so much.
He's relaunching the business with a new logo. We're going to get successful. Lovely painting.
Oh, no one's mentioned the dog yet.
I did. But
we did, but
I can't take my eyes off the dog. It's beautiful.
We can't see the dog now.
Don't dogs take wonderful Scott photographs?
Ted, I think it's your turn to get another dog. It's time for you.
Oh, I'd love it, but my back garden isn't secure enough at the moment.
But maybe if we move up to the top shelf again, there's loads to be found there. If you zoom in on the little just left of the frames also, or the
yeah, well, I can zoom in more if you want.
Oh, cool.
Well, and the client is coming in with a notebook, so he's some sort of a furniture designer or something that's coming in to get his work done.
Oh, it's
He's
just,
carrying a notebook
or maybe
as
it's
well
just love letters.
to the carpenter. Or
Well,
the,
there's a lovely brace here.
Yeah, and do you see the shoulder knife? It's very rare to
that's what it is.
To see shoulder knives in
Right. Yeah.
That's in Rubo, isn't it?
They were really common. Just by chance, I have an old blade in my hand. Do you guys see me? No.
No.
Yeah, that's
Which guy are you?
That's a shoulder knife blade.
Hang on.
Yeah,
that's not like you, Anton.
That's a shoulder knife blade waiting to be handled. And
so the handle fits on your shoulder, right?
Yeah, you take it like this, and it gives a lot of control. I used one once. File is still making one. Piano makers used it a lot for inlays in how are the small pianos, not the grand piano, but the wall mounted
upright
pianos.
Yeah. They often have inlays. They carved it with setters, chip carving things, which are quite popular in Austria, were done with shoulder knives because you have immense control with these.
I didn't see that in the painting. Can you put it back up, Shane?
They're shown in Rubo's book on marquetry as well.
So it's the wiggly thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
This thing, yeah, the wooden thing.
It has a sheath, I think.
There's the sheath here, and the blade in the sheath is there. Yeah.
But also
that looks like a square.
Yep.
And these look like maybe mitre clamping blocks.
Something like this. I don't know.
Yeah, definitely blocks.
Yeah. And typical Austrian marking gauges, the two-stem ones, just like.
These look like gouges.
Yeah, these are Austrian marking gauges.
Yeah.
And these.
Yes, I've seen those.
Gorgeous, yeah.
That's
there's each time I see the painting. Find new hidden treasures, and thankfully it's quite often on display. So I think I saw it 3 times in person now. It's hard to find good resolution online pictures of it, sadly, but it's a strange but great.
The apprentice. Can we look at him again? Is such an awkward body language there. It looks a bit unnatural somehow.
Yeah, go out, Shrenik. Yeah.
I have zoomed out.
Yeah.
Is that a hair color that you see in Austria?
Yeah, a lot of close relationships in Austrian mountain valley. It's a bit like the Irish. Now we have Celtic roots and lots of redheads in Austria.
All right.
We're not talking
Of course, the people at the top of the stairs, he might be the owner of the building and just come in to collect his rent.
I would say that the woman that's with him doesn't look very happy because she's kind of holding him back. See if you look at her hand and arm. Yeah. So if he was a client or if he was the landlord, she's kind of like saying to him, like, not yet, like, wait a minute kind of thing. She's kind of holding his arm.
I think she's probably saying we sold this as a bed sit.
No pets.
But
what's she saying? Are you buying something again?
Or maybe they're the parents of the apprentice.
All right.
Anything is open, but they are quite definitely not landlords, because it would be very, very unusual for a shop like this not being owned.
I know Jehovah's Witnesses, and the boss is saying to them, "I thought you told you to shut the door," he said, and that's why he's looking like that. Not me, he said. Wasn't me.
So the apprentice has one of those marking gauges in his right hand, does he not?
Yeah. He's marking out. Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting instruction, I think, and the mother is paying attention to master giving him some instruction, but I don't think he's being punished or anything. I think that would lend a whole different air to the painting that the artist, I don't think, would want.
So is that the finger of admonishment he's shaking at the apprentice?
No, I think he's just pointing to how to use the gauge.
Yeah.
He's pointing to the gauge.
I think it's weird that the lady who appears to be painting has this low-cut dress on, just doesn't seem to fit to this sort of scene.
Yeah.
That's why she looks so miserable. She's supposed to go out on a date, you see. So she's looking so miserable because she's having to work.
To me.
And that's exactly it. I think this is 4 o'clock on a Friday and she's pissed off. She's can't go home.
It is. She said, I'm supposed to be down a pub by now.
Yeah.
Well, is she dressed as a more upper class woman?
No,
doing some sort of artistic hobby.
It's quite classical bourgeois.
Really?
Off the shoulder plain focus.
Bourgeois attire, and they really did work.
I hope she's wearing safety footwear. The others aren't.
Well, the
Blatant
apprentice
disregard.
certainly isn't.
Not a steel toe cap in sight.
Still toe cap boots on that, but it's just what's below. Oh, dear.
Actually, the apprentice's slippers look rather like that shoe on the wall in the blacksmith shop.
Yeah. I think that's about it.
You zoom in, see the top shelf, in between, right in the middle, above the frame saw. There's a couple of planes up there, but I'm not saying that.
Yeah, those are tongue and groove planes.
They look as if they've got handles though on the side, like.
Yeah, tongue and groove planes.
Oh, okay. So it's basically a fence.
No, it's handles. They were like this.
Okay.
Some had fences, movable fences attached to one side of the handle, but most have a handle in the front and in the back, a little bit like those two-man planes here. Those I think they call them oxhuvel in Sweden, and tongue and groove planes were often used with two people.
All right, shall we move over to the next one?
Shrenik, can I just interrupt with a request?
Okay.
In the
Not singing
description,
again.
when you put the video out, could you include the URLs for the paintings?
I will do my best.
That would be great, because
there is no URL for this painting, unfortunately. They had it in the catalog of a gallery in Vienna where they showed it half a year ago, but they took it off again. So it's owned by Lentus Museum in Linz. Pardon?
If I can find a URL for the painting, I will do.
Yeah, or just the names and the artist names.
Okay. Well, we're over to Richard Arnold now with his submission.
Yay.
Richard, are you here?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Yes, not muted. Yeah. For those of you not familiar with this, this is a trade card, probably from around 1730, by the plane and tool maker John Jennion of London, who was apprenticed to Robert Wooding, who was one of the earliest plane makers. It's quite interesting in the fact that in the upper part of the picture there, you'll see that sort of, that is supposedly a depiction of the shop sign that hung outside the shop. And the shop was called at the sign of the three planes. But the shop sign was probably there when it was Robert Wooding's premises. This was on Queen Street in London. And prior to that, it was probably Thomas Granford's shop sign as well. So the planes that are depicted there are probably more of a interpretation of what planes probably looked like in about 1690, sort of 1700 period, rather than the 1730, which makes it quite interesting. But there's a good array of tools to study there around the actual sign. So if anybody wants to sort of comment on things or whatever.
Now this is 1730 and it says three planes, Plains.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was sometimes spelt like that in the early 18th century. Yeah.
I have something to show you, Richard, which and the other guests here. It was my old buddy William Goodman, the original author of Woodworking Planes that Jane edited in later years. He had this done for me when I was a 30-year-old joiner. I don't know if you can see that.
Oh, lovely. Yeah.
Bill had that done for me. I don't know who by. May have been someone that Philip Walker or Roy Arnold knew.
Yeah.
Who was good at that sort of thing. But I've kept it all these years because yeah.
I think the original trade card, I think it's in the British Museum, if I remember rightly.
I don't know where it is, but it's certainly a lovely trade card, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
So this isn't a carpenter, but this is a tool maker and a tool supplier.
Yeah, I think by then John Jennion was probably purely making and supplying tools. His master Robert Woodin was actually a joiner who was also a plane maker.
It's interesting that they use the term all sorts as well. Makes and sells all sorts of carpenters, joiners, and carpenters' tools.
Yeah. Yeah.
With greater or lesser quantities.
At reasonable prices.
Yeah, very nice.
I was wondering about that triangular thing at the bottom.
Yeah, on the bottom left.
Yeah,
yeah. I think it's possibly some sort of bricklayer's trowel.
Oh right.
Possibly.
No, not that.
No.
Oh no.
3 tools over to the right.
The corkscrews.
Yeah, so the tricorn thing.
Yeah, I think they're for 3 different size screws to start screws.
I'm trying to
drill it out.
I know what you're talking about. I can't see it.
Right at the bottom.
Oh yeah, right at the bottom. Yeah, I think it's like a 3-stem sort of like auger type thing.
Yeah, like a gimlet.
Yeah,
a triple gimlet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
there is another.
I've never seen one. I've never seen one, but I presume that's probably what it is.
Yeah, could well be.
Yeah. I'm trying to think if there's anything on there that I've not been able to identify.
Well, let's go to the pizza cutter on the upper left, just under
I mean, it's almost like a wheelwright's traveller, but if it's to scale, it's rather small.
Yeah,
I think I know what it is. It's
That'd be a leather rest.
Yeah.
It's what?
The saw rest. Saw set.
Well, mine isn't. I don't know if you can see this.
Leather worker's tool.
It's for caning. It's for caning, for putting in. It's a roller to put in the caning strip around a chair. I have one in my hand, but you can't see it because we're using this. But I'll show it to you when we.
Chester, you've got the wrong camera on. We can just see your red table.
Oh, okay. Try that. Can you see this?
Yeah.
No, but the one in the engraving has got 3 slots in it.
Yeah, I don't know how necessary that is to its use. I don't know. But it resembles this, and this is for pushing in the banding around a caned seat.
Sorry, was Andy going to say something?
No, I'm just trying to find a picture of that triangular, that 3-legged thing. I'm wondering if it's a Cooper's tool for drawing up bottoms.
Right.
I think the 3-legged thing is just a gimlet with 3 ends.
Yeah.
The 3 different size screws, I think.
Yeah.
Could well be.
I'm confusing it with bed keys. That's what I was remembering the shape of.
You used to get
yeah.
Used to get bicycle screwdrivers like that at one point.
Yeah.
And then
Different
there's
sizes.
also, to the right of the text, there is a thing that looks sort of like corrugated iron.
I think what you're looking at there is a cornice plane.
Oh, right.
The sole of a cornice plane.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a sole.
What's the tool above that then? It looks like a trammel, but it's got a kind of curve above it.
It's a Cooper's sort of dividers. They're made of wood. They were very, very collectible. Early tool collectors absolutely loved them and used to pay a fortune for them. I don't know whether they still do or not, but
yeah. The thing I don't know, you see the gouge to the left of the gouge? At the handle of the gouge, there's a line that goes over to what looks like a saw medallion.
Yeah, the only thing I could think that was, Chester, was a reel for a line, like a chalk line, maybe. That's the only thing I've come up with for that. I was going to mention that. That's the only thing I can think of.
Beautiful writing.
It's interesting to, like I was saying about the shop sign, the design of the planes. This is one of the few clues we've got as to what early English bench planes may have looked like. And I have seen some people describe these planes as being perhaps the earliest sort of illustration of a double iron, but I think they're interpreting it wrong. They've got a curious form of wedge shape on them, which is like a round tombstone top, but they're sort of stepped back from the lower surface of the wedge. And my reasoning behind that is, I don't know whether, can you highlight me? My camera, Shrenik. I don't know whether you can see that.
Yeah.
This is a panel raiser by Robert Wooding, but if you look at the style of the wedge, it's got that round tombstone top, but it's also set in and set back. Now, that's probably what they're trying to illustrate there. This is one of only, I think, 3 planes I know with that wedge style, English planes this is, because it is slightly reminiscent of Dutch planes. But there's another Robert Wooding panel raiser with the same form of wedge, and another one by, I think it's John Anderson of London, a very early plane. So I think that's what they're actually illustrating there. But
Richard, do you think they would have done it to all 3 planes in the drawing? Or do you think it was just a way of doing a forced perspective to where you could see the iron in the drawing? Just sort of, because they're not very straight lined either. They're kind of almost sketchy.
It's probably a bit of an interpretation. I don't know, but I think that's what they're trying to draw there. But it was a style of wedge that I think probably had more or less disappeared by about sort of after the first sort of decade of the 18th century. That's why they're so rare. But like I say, those planes on there probably wouldn't have been typical planes of 1730. I think they were Thomas Gramford's original shop sign. So they would have, like I say, they would have been sort of an illustration of a plane from about 1690, I would imagine.
Oh, that much earlier. Wow.
Oh, yeah.
And was that much development in the design of them in those 40 years?
Sorry, was there that much debate? Well, I don't know. All I can go on is the surviving planes that we have.
Yeah.
And sort of, I only know of those 3 with that early round top design with the step relief sides, English planes this is. And then we've got planes from the sort of 1720s where they've already gone to a more square topped wedge. So it was pretty quickly made obsolete. How long it was in use before that, I don't know.
No.
It may have been heavily influenced by Dutch plane making, I think.
But we had the same thing at the end of the 18th century when you're talking about finials going from round to flying, well, what I call the flying bridge type things, where they're flying backwards, and that happened over a period, we know, with Gabriel, where you've got that cusp period between where you've got the very early ones, which are so round they're actually drawn with a compass, and then later on the fashion took over where it looked more streamlined, and it happened within what, 10 years.
Yeah.
So it's quite conceivable that the fashion would have been dictating what happened, and economy as well, because it's far less effort to make a square blob in it.
Yeah.
Have you been fiddling with that trade card, Mr. Arnold?
Why?
The left-hand side axe in the top.
I don't think I've been fiddling with it. Where are we?
Put the trade card back up.
Yeah, get the image back up. Where are we looking, Andy? The axe?
Yeah, isn't that left-handed?
Oh, gold. I don't know. Which one? The one
at the top? No, the other one, really.
The other one, the side axe.
Because the bevel's on the left.
There. Oh, how can you tell, Andy? I can't tell.
Well, just look at the line that details the bevel.
Yeah, that's definitely left-handed.
Of course, the bevel. Yeah.
The bevel's in the detail.
Oh,
yeah, good point. Could be left-handed.
So, and with the same thing. Okay, the axe next to it's not got a handle in it, but the other one has, and so that one will be left-handed as well, to the right. Although if it's beveled both sides, you wouldn't. But anyway, that could be artistic license anyway. So.
Could well be.
Or he could just be appreciative of left-handed people like myself.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
Not in those days, no.
I think there's something sinister going on here.
Bevel on both sides.
No, it's a side axe. Isn't it?
I think whoever drew it was pretty good at sort of represent. I think they're a pretty good representation of tools, though.
But I mean, that makes sense to you. If this is a trade card, it means you're showing it to customers and you want it to look like the article they're going to get.
Yeah.
Truth in advertising.
Yeah.
And it's an engraving, isn't it? It's a panel engraving.
At least you want to make them think that this is what they're going to get.
I'm not sure it's an engraving. I think it might be a litho.
Yeah, the original would have been made into something to print, though, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think it's a lithograph on stone. Because it's so blurry, usually etchings, you get very fine lines and cross etching, but this doesn't have that. This is done more like a lithograph. See the softness in that curl?
Part of that is just pixelation from the digitization, though.
Say the writing that describes all the stuff, or what you can get, etc.
Can you open it up again?
So many different, almost different fonts in it. Is it just accentuating things, or is it
the non italicized fonts are there to stand out, aren't they?
Yeah. But this is not set type. This is, I think, is engraved.
Yeah.
I actually am pretty sure it's a woodblock, a fine woodblock print.
Yeah.
I don't think
it's carved or engraved. That does not look like movable type to me.
I think it's engraved, but I think it's engraved in wood and not in metal.
Yeah, you're quite right.
There's some really interesting historical details there. For instance, it clearly shows that the Cheapside, the cheaper side of the town, was called the Cheapside, and now it's just Cheapside, one word. It's amazing how things have. It's not bloody cheap either now, but it's amazing how. What?
but I think Cheapside was a main thoroughfare on the east side of the city of London anyway.
Yeah,
so
correct.
So it's a good reference if you want to tell people where you are, because everyone knows where Cheapside is.
Hmm.
And once you get to Cheapside, you can ask after Queen Street and the sign of the Three Planes.
What's the word after merchants?
Artificers.
Artificers, yeah.
Yeah.
Artificers?
Create artifacts.
Yeah. Craftspeople.
Laura, yeah.
What are we thinking about there's obviously a lock and a key in the bottom right hand corner. What's the item to the left of that? Do you think that's a doorknob or something?
It looks like a turn screw to me, like a very small gunsmith's turn screw.
It's
no.
barrel.
You can see threads on it.
Threads on it, yeah.
Yes, you can.
That's the Cooper's tool, isn't it? That's the thing for pulling the bottom of the barrel up.
I forget what it's called.
A bottom puller.
Yeah. Go in a different room to get the books.
Cooper's tools are funny, aren't they? They're just very specialised.
Anyone mention the funny S in the form of an F in reasonable?
It's an S.
I know it's an S, yes. I know.
No, that's how they write S's.
I know it's how they write S's. I come from Bristol, remember?
Yeah, but the S is...
Bristol.
Bristol.
But the F's are different.
See, quantities at the end of this.
A lot different.
The F's are completely different.
Oh dear.
Yeah, but you look at left, sir, on the bottom left, and you got an F and an S.
Don't make me get my old Bristol 3 mile milestone out.
Yeah, because you don't make the second one. You don't make the second one like that.
Never.
Isn't this interesting?
Isn't this a kickback from the double S in German?
You know the what we call scharfes S? Yeah. Not really. It developed from SZ.
Right, but where it's got a lesser.
Yeah, but the German scharfes S is developed from a long S, from a middle word S and a Z.
Ah, okay.
Like in
what is the item underneath the word lesser that looks like an andiron shot from above?
The veneer iron?
It is. Do you think it's an iron?
No, I took it to be some sort of mason's pointing tool, but I might be wrong. I mean, there's a trowel on the left side of it, but I wonder whether it's sort of mason's pointing tool of some sort, or plasterer's tool.
And that looks like a chipping hammer, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Below the trowel.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the item to the right-hand side of the wooden brace. I took that to be a blade out of a Spokeshave, but I'm not so sure now.
That's how I thought it was. That's what I thought it was. Replacement blade for a
blade
Spokeshave.
from a Travisher?
Yeah, you'd make your own. Well, I don't think it's a Travisher. Hard to say.
Yeah. Spile. Is it a spile? I think it's spile.
Spile?
Yeah. No, not that tool. The thing with the handle at the bottom.
Oh, this.
Yeah.
What are you looking at?
That looks like a spoke-shaped blade to me. I thought at first it might be one of those joining, what do they call those things? The two pins that you join two pieces of wood together temporarily.
Oh, the dogs, yeah.
Those dogs. Yeah.
Pinch dogs.
Yeah.
Pinch dog, but the blade, it definitely looks like the way they've drawn all the other blades, a bevel. It definitely looks like there's a subtended bevel there.
If that was a dog, it may have been up the other way because it's upside down.
A very small Spokeshave.
Well, a spoke-shaped blade, basically a spoke-shaped blade that, you know, the ones that go in the handle and the pins stick up through, you just tap them in.
It looks like it's got something.
I would say a small draw knife.
Or floor scraper.
I don't think you can take these sizes literally.
Could it be
Oh
one of
no,
those?
Chester.
I forget
Don't
what
spoil
they.
it, Chester.
I forget what they're called, but could it be those things that you use to when you're clamping up boards? So when you've got a
That's
sprung.
what,
That's what I just said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you zoom in on it, Shrenik?
Sorry.
Can you zoom in on it?
Yeah.
It looks like it's something underneath it.
It's definitely There's definitely a bevel. What's
No, on the other side.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry.
This one.
No, on the other side.
Keep going. No, keep going.
That's it. There.
I'm zoomed in.
Now it's zoomed in. I mean, it's zoomed in too far now because you can't really get. But that definitely looks like a blade edge on that.
Yeah.
It's just a license, artistic license, so because the two pins go up into the handle of the old type Spokeshave.
Yeah.
Is the blade not the wrong way around to be a Spokeshave though? The blade's vertical rather than being horizontal.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's artistic license to show the blade in its planar form, if you like.
Yeah.
Here's an interesting point. The brace itself. I've always sort of often wondered what 18th century English braces look like. Now, I presume this is an English trade card. That is an English brace. Now, if you were to present that to any tool collector these days, they would immediately say, oh, no, that's a continental brace. And I've often wondered about this. Every brace that looks like that is always sort of claimed to be a continental brace. Well, what did we use in England? Is that not an English brace there?
Yeah, but don't forget, we also had indication.
brace.
Didn't we have indication from the Mary Rose, Richard, that there was a definite trade between certainly the France and the Netherlands and so on of continental tools that came over for sale in Britain, and there's no reason why they couldn't have be a subcontractor for reselling.
I can't believe that we didn't make braces though.
But that's a chair brace, isn't it? With the different, isn't it?
No.
No.
I've gone and got my Salomons. That's a Cooper's brace. If you can, hang on.
One moment, I'll have to spotlight you.
I can't see my own screen because I'm holding.
Now you can.
There we are.
Andy, it's not focusing.
Let's go back a bit. There you go.
Yeah.
Still not.
Solomon's pictures are Cooper's brace. That's a pretty good match.
It is.
And the chairmaker's brace is a bit different.
Does he specify what makes it a Cooper's brace versus a cabinet maker or other? Does he just
it's made in wood with a wedge type chuck and it's homemade. Because it's only used for one job, isn't it? It's for boring the dowel holes in the head. So you don't need to have interchangeable bits.
Yeah, but those did have interchangeable bits.
Oh yeah,
very similar.
The whole wooden plug came out with the bit. You had different plugs for it.
That's a chair maker's when the plugs come out. Because you use a different plug for the legs as you do for the various spokes in the chair.
But that other one had that ferrule that looked like it could have been the wood. I don't think we can make that distinction between the two in that card.
I think the fact that it seems to be that there is some contextual relevance to where the tool is placed within the group. As we mentioned, the mason's tools in the bottom left-hand corner. It would come to, we could draw a conclusion that they were actually
in the painting before this. The brace on the wall was aimed with the bit down, which would lead you to believe that either it's fixed or and more likely Cooper's than being able to come out, because it would have fallen out. It had the bit in it.
But that's considerably later period, and it's Austrian.
Nobody's mentioned the strange plier-y things to the right of the saw.
Back up, Shrenik.
I've got an idea what they might be, but they don't fit with any of the rest. And if that's right, might be a long period. But it does look like that, doesn't it? It's got the little brush on the on the end of the arm, and the nippers at the head. I suppose we've been how far back does champagne go? When was Dom Perignon?
1700s sometime, 1600s.
Yeah. And I guess there would have been other wines with wired-on stoppers and plenty of dust.
And you got Bacchus in the scroll work there with the grapes hanging out of its mouth.
Boozy lot down that London.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the thing that looks like a bottle opener?
Yeah.
Yeah, so pliers thing with a lump on one leg, like a champagne pliers.
See, we're not of that sort of status that we know what champagne pliers look like, Andy. So.
No.
Well, yeah.
I think it is a leather working tool, that one.
I've been using the side of a table to get the bottle tops off.
I tend to use my teeth.
Yeah, well, well, that's a.
I just looked it up. Sparkling wines of the champagne type go back to at least the second half of the 17th century, so previous to this.
Right.
Yeah, did they have cages on them?
It doesn't say. Well, maybe it does say, but I haven't read that far. If it does say.
More modern than some of the other things around it, then.
Yeah.
The first mention of champagne was in a 1676 play.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
There you go.
I think they used to cage some of the fortified wines as well.
And that's in Britain, so champagne does go back quite a long way.
But the champagne pliers are normally a side nip.
Yeah.
Andy, you clearly know a lot more than I do.
I think it's punching pliers for leather.
How many you got?
Actually, Richard, I think you might be right.
If in doubt,
does look like it.
Yeah, I think you've got a very similar pair of pliers. It doesn't have the like forked effort on the end of one of the legs, but the top end of it is very similar.
So do you use those two spikes to get the spacing between where you put the holes, then you turn it around and punch a hole through?
Yeah, if making belts, for example, that would be perfect.
Yeah.
It's very interesting, though. Now that we're looking in detail at this corner, the saw has its nib set back from the end.
I thought, dare I mention the saw nib?
Yeah.
Oh dear, here we go.
I thought it was a snack.
What's the next picture?
Yeah, let's move. And moving on, Tad.
Before we do, can I ask a question, Richard? Richard, given the detail on this, how big is it? Do we know the original?
I have no idea. I've not seen the original, so I have no idea.
Sorry, quite a big pocket for that.
I think it's. I've got a funny feeling. I actually saw the dimensioning somewhere on that, Richard, when I was making that copy for your jointer box that you gave me kindly.
Yeah.
And I've got a funny feeling it's postcard size. Half letter.
Yeah.
Quite detailed.
Be nice to see the original. Whether they'd let you see it, I don't know.
Okay, thanks.
Moving on.
I got a question about that square that was in the previous image.
The decorations on the ends of the blades?
It almost looks like they got it wrong.
Yeah.
But I think one is for doing inside angles and the other is for doing outside. That's why they put the decoration on the inside of one and the decoration on the outside of the other. You see what I mean? To give you longer.
Cuts down on the efficiency of drawing the line square. I just would think the inside is what you really care about, not the outside.
It would also be the folding rule looks strange because it's got like a double leg on the right hand side.
I think that's a sector. I think that's a sector.
It's not a rule. It looked like a folding rule.
Yeah, it looks like a folding rule to me.
Yes, it does.
But it's got one leg shorter, so the double leg on the right hand side, it doesn't look like a folding rule because of it. What does the sector do, Jim?
Well, it's a folding rule basically with holes in it. You open it up and you get different angles.
and it allows you to get proportions. So you say you set your dividers to measure the width of something, which whatever, and you set that on the 12 spot, and you can then take another pair of dividers and put them in the 4 spot, and you will get a third of the original measurement.
Right, okay, so for scaling.
I've got wrong. It's an early combination tool for barbers, isn't it?
Okay, so this is a, like you said, it's folding rule, but it's a sector, so it has various little divots along it that you put your compasses on.
Yeah.
So this, and it opens up, and you can use various scales to basically it can be used as a calculator.
Yeah.
Scales for, I mean, this one's made of ivory, but you know, it's and silver, but it's a fairly common method of calculation in that period before it.
Some have scales that will give you, if you have the radius, it will give you the diameter and the circumference. If you have the circumference, it will give you the diameter and radius, and so on and so forth.
Because it's got different scales, they're numbered, lettered here, and that was a convention that let me just see if I can get the other side and see if I can focus it. You can see there, I don't see if you can, but you can see the divots in it. Little dots here, 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 and you put your compasses. You set your compasses to a certain distance, and that forms the other edge of a triangle to give you calculations. I mean, there's actually an article I started to write. It has many, many, many uses beyond just a calculator. But that's a quite
you
posh
have
one.
An ivory and silver sector, and you are denying a champagne lifestyle.
Absolutely. I actually culled the elephant myself for this one, and no, they do come in wooden versions which I've got. But
dropping back onto the them funny shaped pincers, spile nippers.
To you too.
With the doors flattened so they can grip a spile at the point where it emerges from the sheave, and so pull or lever it out.
Okay.
There's
Goes
that.
with the Coopers.
We're all the wiser now.
Page
What's a spile?
Well, you're whacking into a barrel to get the beer out.
Brewer's gimlet, spile gimlet, for boring a tapered vent hole in the sheave, which is subsequently stoppered with a spile. So a spile is actually the thing that you block the hole up with.
You're assuming by your conversation that we're all master brewers, aren't you?
We'll have a good knowledge of it.
Yeah.
I mean, Andy, as much as we know of the products that breweries produce, expand a bit more, please.
And there are actual special spile drills in Austria, which are drill bits which stay in for the venting hole later. They have a vent in the drill bit, which is interesting.
We can highlight Andy again. Yeah.
Gee Louise.
There you go.
Oh, hang on, I have to spotlight Andy now.
Yep.
Is this Salomon as well?
Yeah.
I'll have to go and get that book out again.
Catching up. You're right.
Yeah. Lord love me.
Amazing.
I've certainly got quite a few of those corkscrews.
Oh, the brush. Look at the brush for cleaning out before you pull it. Red wine, of course.
That'll be
Right.
back
Well,
out.
What are those tongs for, Andy? They're like 3 or 4 up. It says there's tongs. They were in the picture as well. Curved tongs. On that page above the spile nippers at the bottom, I think it's like 3 up. Curved tongs.
Wax tongs.
Wax tongs. That looked like they were in the picture above, were they not? Or were they nail pullers or nippers?
Have you never been for a waxing, Scott?
It's not bikini weather, is it, Scott?
Well, if you've got a bottleneck, wax tongs, wax tongs with round jaws serrated on the inner surface, used for removing wax from bottlenecks.
Yeah, they were quite often waxed in on the fortified wines and sherries and ports.
It stopped it drying out, didn't it? Because the corks do leak a certain amount, don't they?
Quite a few red wines in the higher price range are still dipped in wax.
Yeah.
Nowadays.
Well, on that note, I'd like to raise a glass.
It's appropriate.
Raise a bench beverage to everyone and to the bench.
To the bench.
One for tonight.